I am gay. Thank you all so much for doing this, for standing up for the LGBTQ community. We have been fighting against the Don't Say Gay bill for so many months, and you being here today actually sends a really strong message. The students who are impacted, those of you who are LGBTQ youth, we stand with you, we see you, you matter, and we get up and fight for you every single day. And for those who are allies, those of you who are allies who are here standing with the LGBTQ community, with your fellow students, thank you. That is strong allyship, and you should all be applauded for that. Awesome. Keep up the good work and keep staying gay.
My name is David Leatherwood, and I'm here on behalf of the organization Gays Against Groomers. This bill is not anti-LGBT, it is pro-child safety. The radical activists who are against it are either self-obsessed narcissists or simply misinformed. The sexualization and indoctrination of minors is not just wrong, it's beyond wrong, it's evil, and using taxpayer dollars to do it in the classroom through the public school system is even worse. The truth is, the majority of LGBT people in Florida overwhelmingly support these efforts to protect minors, and those who don't are either radical activists or uninformed individuals who have been fed false narrative
bring it in for a landing
by the corporate gay media. The truth is, it's not a partisan issue. It's just common sense.
If we could bring it in for a landing. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. So in this episode of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World, we got to talk about some legislation out in Florida that has the woke activists upset. Okay, they're upset every single day, right? I mean, quite honestly, I feel like it's pretty easy for me to find some story or some video of left-wing activists being upset about something, okay? Because they're never happy, okay? Liberals and progressives are probably the most unhappiest people in this country, okay? Bar none. I'm just saying, they're always complaining about something, okay? Especially when they can't get their way. And a lot of these woke protests, we've seen out in Florida, okay? At the beginning of this video, you can see high school students walking out in protest of Ron DeSantis' so-called Don't Say Gay bill, aka the Parental Rights and Education bill. And then you also have the President of the United States, Joe Biden, or the alleged president, right? We all know he's not actually really running the country, but he is now speaking up about Ron DeSantis and some of the policies being passed out in Florida as well too. He calls it sinful. Yeah, it's sinful for teachers to not be able to talk to kids about sex in school.
What's going on in Florida is, as my mother would say, close to sinful. I mean, it's just terrible what they're doing. It's not like, a kid wakes up one morning and says, I decided I want to become a man, or I want to become a woman, or I want to change. I mean, what are they thinking about here? They're human beings. They love, they have feelings, they have inclinations that are, it just, to me, is, I don't know, it's cruel. And the way we do it is we make sure we pass legislation like we passed on same-sex marriage. You mess with that, you're breaking the law, and you're going to be held accountable.
And what's happened out in Florida is that there is a new bill that they're calling an anti-trans bill that is designed to protect children, okay, from transitioning, okay, or being allowed to transition by irresponsible parents, which should be common sense in this country. Apparently that's controversial. And the woke group Equality Florida had an absolute meltdown over this, right? They lost their minds over this as they came out and protested this bill that is being debated in Florida legislature because they claim that it's an attack on trans babies. Yeah, that's right. They claim that this is an attack on trans babies. Take a look.
We are in a legislature where the Republicans have hijacked the word liberation. They have hijacked the word freedom.
We are here to resist their transphobic slate of hate legislation.
You are erasing our trans babies.
I'm here for all of the bills personally, as a Black person and also a woman of color from the trans experience.
We're seeing a lot of attacks on the LGBTQ community. Ultimately, we want these bills not to pass. We want to make sure that our lawmakers know what's important to Floridians.
Before I make comments, I want to center in this moment Black trans women. I want to center Black trans women in this moment, because if our Black trans sisters are not free, none of us will be free. I could talk to you about the legislation that has been filed, but we know the legislation that has been filed. But I want to paint a picture of liberation. I want to paint a picture of liberation because that is why we are all here today. I believe that we are in a legislature where the Republicans have hijacked the word liberation. They have hijacked the word freedom. They have used it to oppress folks. They have used it to oppress Black people. They have used it to oppress LGBTQ people. They have used it to oppress folks who are different in any way that they are not like them. And I want to, and I'm churchy, so y'all have to forgive me. So y'all gonna have to forgive me. So I'm gonna have to get in my bag for a minute. I need you all to understand who are here under the sound of my voice. As my brother Senator Jones said, it is not by mistake that you are here.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. I think the funniest part of that speech was her talking about how they must center Black trans women, right? You guys see how this works. Okay, the person that is the biggest victim, okay, or the individuals that are supposed to be the biggest victim, which are biological men that want to be women, that happen to be Black, right? So, Black, okay, doesn't matter if you're Latino, Asian, none of you got, no, Black, okay, is the biggest victim here. Trans is also a bigger victim, right? You're more of a victim than, gay, lesbian, bisexual, whatever, right? Non-binary. They must be centered, right? Because if they don't have all their rights and freedoms, then nobody will. Again, I would want to ask these people just one time, just one question. What right do Black transgender women have that other people don't have? Just name one. Just name one. They can't. I guarantee you they could not name any. Their rights are not under attack, right? Just like trans babies are not under attack, which is what they are alleging, okay? That this is an attack on trans babies. I don't know what a trans baby is. I don't know how a baby can be transgender, right? I'm not sure how that works. And just so you guys understand how messed up the leftist logic is, they claim that allowing kids, unborn babies, to be aborted is totally fine, right? That's totally fair game. That's not erasing babies, right? But not allowing kids to have the genitalia cut off or to be chemically castrated or to transition is erasing babies. So aborting a baby is not erasing babies. Not allowing a child to undergo a sex change operation is erasing babies. Absolutely incredible. But apparently this is what they're concerned about because, again, Florida has some new legislation that is designed to protect the rights of children. And we know that left-wing liberal media is going to come up with some name for this, right? They're probably going to call it the anti-trans baby bill or something like that. They're going to call it something that is not so that they can trick the public into believing that the legislation does something that it actually doesn't do. Like the Don't Say Gay bill. Or the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, they use that name, even though that's not the name of the bill, right? It's Parental Rights and Education Act. They use the name Don't Say Gay to try to trick the public into believing that Ron DeSantis is banning people from being able to say the word gay in school, right? They're going to be arrested for saying the word gay, which is not true at all, okay? But again, it will be very hard to run propaganda against a bill called the Parental Rights and Education Act, and you accurately describe what it does, which is that it prevents teachers from having conversations with kids about sex and gender ideology. yeah, I think it would be much harder to brainwash the American people into being against that, right? So you just call it something that it's not, and then you have the rest of the liberal media run propaganda. Like the fact that the liberal media won't just call it the Parental Rights and Education Act, they actually call it Don't Say Gay Bill themselves, tells you exactly what you need to know in terms of how slanted the media is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and read about what these people are so upset about, right? Because what they're upset about is just ridiculous. On Monday, LGBTQ activists and Democrat representatives launched a protest outside of the Capitol. What drew the ear of the progressive is Senate Bill 254, which was debated in the Senate Health Policy Committee. Sponsored by Senator Clay Yarborough, the proposed legislation places restrictions for children under the age of 18 regarding receiving sex reassignment prescriptions and surgeries. What's more, the bill gives Florida courts jurisdiction over children who may be at risk of receiving sex reassignment procedures by one parent. The bill would change the state's child custody laws to redefine the provision of transition-related health care to minors as, quote, an unjustifiable conduct and serious physical harm. So this is important, right? Because a couple reasons. The obvious reasons that children should be allowed to get this stuff under the age of 18. I think reasonable people can agree with that. Unfortunately, we have a decent size or a decent number of people in this country that don't agree with that. They're not reasonable. But it also does something that we've seen to be a problem, right? Where you have parents who are split, okay, or divorced, and, you know, because the courts favor the mother in regards to custody, the mothers take care of the kids, and then the mothers end up pushing, you know, kids to transition just because they act like the opposite sex or gender or whatever, right? And they end up pushing the transition on the child, and the father's like, no, I don't want my son to get his penis cut off or to transition into, you know, a girl or to take hormones or whatever. I don't want that to happen. And then there ends up being a big fight about it, right? So it seems like this law here is designed to address that and to say, look, a child that's at risk, which I think is a great way to describe this, of receiving sex reassignment procedures by one parent, that would define that as unjustifiable conduct, right? And causing serious physical harm, which would probably shift things in favor of whichever parent that is not pushing woke gender ideology or trying to transition their kids, right? Which I think is a good thing. That's a great thing. So again, you got Florida here, Florida Republicans continuing to do great work, and the woke activists are upset, right? They're upset talking about, you know, this is a attack on trans babies and just making up all types of stuff. And it's like, bro, like, wow. These people really think that kids should be allowed to just undergo sex change surgeries and to get hormone blockers and treatments. Like, they really believe that this stuff is healthcare. They believe that kids should be experimented on, right? This is what they believe. It's absolutely insanity, man. It really is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.